Kelly from the Ocean Institute, and we've partnered with the Wyland Foundation to create this amazing mobile learning center. This mobile learning center is for all ages. It can encompass all regions too. So if you live in the mountains, you live by the ocean, you live at the river, you live in the desert, all of the things that we see here are applicable. This video is going to tell us a little bit about each of the exhibits, some of the ways to present them, and some of the ways that you would be able to best guide people and get the best learning experience possible. So if you're a volunteer or a docent, if you have absolutely no knowledge of the watershed, we're going to learn about it. This will be your first stop at the Wyland Learning Center. This theater here comfortably holds 40 people. We bring the children in and have them sit along the floor, moving up to the front, but not all the way up to the front. We're going to have a small aisleway where you can walk back and forth and allow ease of entrance through those doors and also to the door in the back. So once you have all the kids seated, it's time to talk about what this exhibit is about. And as a docent, or a volunteer here in the Wyland Center, you will want to be able to explain what a watershed is. A watershed is an area of land that drains to a body of water. So you could either have a lake or a stream or a river that collects the water. All that area of land between the high points of mountains and hills will drain down. That's the watershed. A lot of people don't understand that concept, or the concept that trash and other things that are released into the watershed will end up in rivers and streams and lakes. After we've described what the watershed is, we're going to talk about our film. And our film is a really fun film. It's made with a lot of popular celebrities or celebrity-like athletes that your kids will probably recognize. You'll want to warn them about some of the surprises. It's a great film. It has a lot of special effects. There's wind, there's fog, there is flashing lights. So especially with little children, you may want to warn them about some of the surprises that are happening. So once your children are oriented and you are ready to start your movie presentation, you're going to come to the back of the trailer. And you'll see that there's two buttons here to start our movie. The top button is the school button. The school button has a little bit of extra animation showing the water cycle and the watershed. The public button is a little bit shorter film. That does not have the extra animation in it. You'll want to hit the school button to get the movie started. Once you hit the button, it's going to dim the lights, it's going to start the movie, and from here, it's smooth sailing. All right, so now once your film is finished, you're going to bring your kids into the watershed learning room. Open up the doors, and let's head inside. So here we are at our first station. This is the river investigation. And as a docent, if you're not sure what you're doing when you get here or you're not real familiar, the sign will give you a huge overview about what's happening. So in this table we have various drains that could represent any city anywhere. There's an agricultural area, a park area. There's an area for urban drinking water and use for cities and households. The object of this particular investigation is to be able to divert the water to various areas of need. Agriculture, city, parks. And you will use a series of dams. Some of the dams have holes in them, some of them are solid, and you'll put them in between the pegs that are in the river exhibit. You'll want to get water equally to all the different drains and still allow water to get to the ocean. So in order to bring your students into this investigation, make it applicable to them. Maybe it's a river close to your home. You'll say, what is the river close to our home? What could this river be? How do people use water? Do people waste water? Is water something that there's an endless amount of? Or do we have to be careful with the water that we have? All these different questions that you can think of can stimulate these kids to ask more questions. And even if you're not able to answer them, you can always tell them, that's a great question. We should look that up. Stimulate the children's desire to learn beyond what they have and see here. Here we are at exhibit number 2, and this is the lake investigation. This is a computer-generated model of an area that has, over time, become differently populated. Nature has a way of balancing its own ecosystem. Checks and balances happen. So while these checks and balances are going on in nature, people moving in can definitely affect that. As we move in here, we can look at the different settlements that were happening during the 1650s. As you turn the knob in a clockwise direction, you can see the date is changing. And as the date changes, so do the developments. In this exhibit, in our lake investigation, we need to know how human impact affects the lakes. Some of the things to look at is to look at the amount of farming that's going on, and also that the lake gets smaller. People are using the water, and watch as the wheel turns, the lake's water quality will also become cloudy or dark. You'll see that it's not as pristine anymore. Some of the things to ask the kids is, what happens when people move in? And can people do things to stop the destruction of different ecosystems? An ecosystem is very fragile, and it relies on all the different pieces to make it work. If one of those pieces falls apart, let's say the chain on your bicycle falls off, that system doesn't work either. And the same thing happens with our ecosystem too. Some of the questions that you can ask to spark more learning is, what do people use lakes for? What is a lake? Where does lake water come from? If a lake were to dry up, what would happen? When the areas dry up, we have all these sediments, all these things that can blow into the air, creating other problems in the environment. What type of wildlife relies on lakes? Is it just fish? Or maybe some animals rely on lakes too? Different questions like that can make kids think about maybe what happens in lakes. Here we are at station number 3. This is the estuary investigation. An estuary is a very, very important part of our ecosystem. It contains a lot of pieces that if one of those were to fall apart, the whole estuary would collapse and everything thereof. This is our wheel of misfortune, or hopefully wheel of fortune. As people move into different areas, there is a definite cause and effect with our delicate balance in our estuaries. If we understand what happens in the food chain, we've taken the whole idea of this Wyland Foundation Traveling Learning Center and been able to implant it into the minds of all these kids. So with our wheel of misfortune, the children will spin the wheel. There's a cause and effect that happens. As things are ruined or changed by human impact, they will then turn on or off the light depending on what the wheel tells them. Here we go. Give it a little turn. New wastewater treatment plants have improved the water quality. You're able to turn on the blue crabs now. They'll turn on the blue crabs in our estuary food web, all the changes that are made when one species comes back to life. When we turn off the white perch, we see the osprey is taken out, and the Atlantic croaker also is demise. A few questions to ask your students while they're engaging in this activity is, what is a food chain? What is a food web? What happens when people make a mess around their estuary? What happens when spills and things get dumped in? And if we were just to kill little tiny animals, would that really hurt anything at all? All right, here we are at station number 4. This is the ocean investigation. So where does all the trash go? If you were to throw a candy wrapper on the ground at your school, can it really end up in the ocean? This interactive experience takes little bits of plastic and little pieces of what are pollutants, and the children have a chance to put them on different areas, maybe in front of the farm or by the school or the houses. They start the rain and they can see where the pollution ends up, and it runs downstream. Some of the things that you can ask kids: how can you prevent this? What are some of the ways that you can make an impact, or you can make a difference? What types of plastics will float? What types of plastics will sink? What types of things get into our water? Oils, sewage. So all of these questions can be asked, and then how can you clean it up? All right, guys. So in this little station here, we're going to take all these little pieces of round colored balls, and we're going to call them different types of pollution. Where do you see pollution? Do you see pollution by the police station, maybe? How about on the roads? All right, guys, so after everything is polluted and all this pollution's everywhere, let's see what happens when it rains. Okay. Push it harder. Push it a little harder. There we go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Where does the pollution go? Where's it going? It's going in the ocean. Is that good or bad? Well, the city's getting clean, though. So is that good? But is this the best way to clean a city? No. How should we clean a city? What are some of the things we can do so pollution doesn't end up in the ocean? Clean up. Clean up, yeah. Very good. What if you see trash on the ground? What if you were to see some trash? What would you do? You would pick it up. What if it wasn't your trash? You'd still clean it up? That's very good. All right, guys. All right, here we are at station number 5, and this is our wetlands investigation. In this particular station, we're going to be looking at indicator species. Now, an indicator species is something that's going to tell us, an animal that's going to tell us about what's happening in our wetlands or in our environment. Indicator species occur everywhere. In our oceans in California, we look at the brittle star. When the amount of oxygen in the sand and mud runs out, the brittle star is the first animal to die out. In this exhibit, we'll be looking at different pictures. There will be a key with the pictures with a number on the back. You can put this over the microscope, and a lot of kids just like to learn a little bit about magnification. Put their hands on there and understand that it's going to be bigger. They'll put the pictures on there, and they'll be able to see what their animals are. There's also samples in the jars. Different areas have different indicator species, and you'll be able to know what animals are indicator species in your area. You can look through the different animals and see if an indicator species for your area lives there. Some of the things to ask the children while they're looking at our wetlands mission is, indicator species tell us about another animal? Of course, I've covered that before, but while they're talking about that, they need to understand the concepts. What are the indicator species in your area? And maybe you don't know that, but you can go home and look that up. How about these little tiny bugs that are in here? Do you think these little tiny bugs really make that big of a difference? And what's their job? Do they clean things? Do they eat things that are dead? There's all sorts of things that you can bring, from the smallest animal feeding the biggest one, just like the whales eat different types of shrimp.